Carlo's POV. The ballroom shimmered like something out of a magazine spread. Crystal chandeliers, soft jazz, and gold accents on every table. Cavanaugh Industries didn't do subtle when it came to annual galas. Everyone was dressed to impress, trying to outshine each other in sequins and fake charm. I was mostly there for the free food, and because HR made attendance mandatory. And yet my eyes kept drifting. Darl Cavanaugh, CEO. Tall, sharp, the kind of man whose presence seemed to pull the air in with him. Every step he took commanded attention without trying. Every laugh, every tilt of his head, it was all effortless. I told myself I wasn't supposed to notice that he was just my boss. I'd worked under Darl for nearly 2 years. I knew the rhythm of his office, how his cologne lingered long after he left, how his voice dipped just slightly when he was irritated. I knew him. And for some reason, every time I did, something inside me stirred in ways I wasn't ready to admit. I've always called myself straight. Always. That was simple, neat, and predictable. Women, dates, and the idea of a normal trajectory. Yet, there were moments I couldn't explain. The way my pulse jumped when Darl's hand lingered a second too long on a report, or the way my stomach did flips when he laughed too close to me. I buried it under logic, denial, and excuses. I was straight, right? I just had bad timing, overactive imagination, too much coffee. Tonight, though, none of those excuses worked. I was laughing with the team when someone suggested a stupid game. Spin and find your partner, or something just as childish. I should have walked away. But a few glasses in, everything felt harmless. I got blindfolded, spun around by co-workers, the room echoing with laughter. I was dizzy, disoriented, trying to find my partner while everyone shouted directions that made no sense. Left, Carlo. No. Right, no. Other right. I took one step too far. My shoe caught on the carpet. Someone's hand brushed mine, and before I could catch myself, my body stumbled forward, and my lips crashed into someone else's. A sharp intake of breath. Soft, warm skin. The faintest scent of cedarwood and whiskey. My heart went weightless. For a second, just a second, no one moved. The room went silent, laughter dying like someone had cut the sound. Then someone muttered, "Holy shit," and the air changed. I ripped off the blindfold, blinking under the lights, and the world tilted. Darl. I'd just kissed Darl Cavanaugh. His eyes were wide, not angry yet, just stunned. His jaw flexed. A muscle ticked near his temple. Around us, whispers started spreading like fire. My face went hot. My tongue stumbled over words that wouldn't come. I'm so sorry, Darl, I stammered. It wasn't... He straightened his collar, his voice cool and controlled. You should be careful where you fall next time, Smith. The room burst into awkward laughter, but Darl didn't stay to enjoy it. He turned and walked off, shoulders tense, leaving me frozen in place, shame spreading through my chest. For the rest of the night, I couldn't meet anyone's eyes. I replayed that moment again and again. The soft pressure of his mouth, the faint tremor of surprise that ran through him, the heartbeat I felt between us before everything shattered. By the time I got to my car, my hands were shaking. Driving home, the city lights blurred outside my window, and my mind wouldn't stop spinning. I told myself it was nothing, an accident, a stupid mistake at a party. I'm straight. I've always been straight. That's who I am. And yet, why can't I stop feeling this? Why does my chest ache like it does for him, and only him? All those times I denied these thoughts, they weren't just imaginary. They were real. And suddenly I couldn't ignore them anymore. But the truth sat heavily in my chest. I could still feel the warmth of his lips, the ghost of a touch that shouldn't have meant anything. and yet my pulse quickened every time I remembered it. I didn't know what scared me more, the humiliation or the fact that deep down I didn't regret it as much as I should have. 2 days later, Darl's POV. 2 days. That's how long it's been since the gala. 2 days of silence, avoiding Carlo's name, his presence, his eyes. The office felt smaller somehow. Every corridor echoing that accidental brush of lips that wasn't supposed to happen. I told myself it was nothing. A mistake. But mistakes weren't supposed to haunt you 2 days later. Scrolling through the internal chat threads this morning didn't help. Someone had posted about the gala incident. Comments were vague but sharp, teasing about how the CEO looked surprisingly comfortable for an accident. My stomach twisted. I shut the screen so hard that it almost cracked. It wasn't the rumor that pissed me off. It was the truth buried in it. That small, infuriating part of me that hadn't stopped thinking about the warmth of Carlo's breath, or how his startled eyes looked too damn soft under the ballroom lights. I've always told myself I was straight. Evelyn, dating her was more of a PR move than anything else. I never really gave my brain, my heart, my time to making her happy. Business always came first. Strategy, growth, deals. I didn't have the luxury to care about pleasing someone else. And maybe that's why it hit me so hard. For the first time in years, I felt something I couldn't ignore. Something real. And it wasn't Evelyn, it was Carlo. I tried to bury it under numbers, meetings, reports, but by the afternoon report meeting, distraction clawed back. Carlo sat at the far end of the table, posture stiff, hands clasped like he was praying not to exist. His eyes didn't meet mine once. He looked composed, but I caught the nervous flick of his fingers, the shallow breaths whenever I spoke. God, why did I notice that? Why did it make my chest tighten in a way no woman ever had? Evelyn's text popped up on my phone. Dinner tonight? I stared. The thought of pretending for her felt unbearable. I typed back quickly. Can't. Late meeting. Lie. Because all I could think of was Carlo, and that scared me. It scared me more than I wanted to admit. For years, I told myself I was straight. I told myself that attraction to women was simple, natural, obvious, and it was mostly. But Carlo had pulled something out of me I wasn't prepared to name. After the meeting, I stayed behind, pretending to review contracts, but my hand hovered over the intercom. My brain screamed, "Don't." Something lower whispered just once. I pressed it. "Send Carlo in." A minute later, he entered. Eyes careful, voice polite. "You called for me, Darl. Close the door." He did. Silence stretched. I could hear the faint hum of the city, the rhythm of his breathing. "I saw the office chat threads," I said finally. "Do you realize what kind of rumors this could start?" He looked up, defensive. "You think I planned it? It was unintentional." That tone, respectful but edged with challenge, did something to me. It shouldn't have, but it did. I leaned back, trying to look unaffected. "Watch your tone, Carlo." His eyes dropped, but not before I caught a flicker of frustration. "I'm sorry, Darl. I didn't mean to embarrass you." Embarrass me? The word hit too close. He thought I was angry because of my reputation. But that wasn't it. It was because I remembered the feel of his breath against my skin, the shock that wasn't entirely unwelcome, and the rush of awareness that this feeling was new. Dangerous. Something I'd spent a lifetime denying. I had always defined myself by control, by certainty, by knowing exactly who I was and who I wanted. And yet here I was, thinking about him when I should be thinking about meetings, deals, and Evelyn. Thinking about him like I had no choice. The air thickened. A quiet pulse of something neither of us wanted to name. He shifted awkwardly. voice softer. "If that's all, Darl." "Yeah," I said, though it didn't sound like me. When the door clicked shut, I exhaled. I leaned back, hands pressing my temples. The city lights blurred into gold and silver streaks. "What the hell is wrong with me?" I muttered. "Why can't I stop thinking about him? For God's sake, Darl, get a grip on yourself. You are straight and have a girlfriend." But no. I realized something I hadn't before. Evelyn was never real to me. I dated her because it looked good on paper. My heart never leaned toward her. My mind never lingered on her the way it did now. And yet, since that accidental kiss, all I could think of was Carlo. Every detail, every flicker of his expression, every pulse of heat that had shot through me in that brief, impossible moment. Control, the one thing I prided myself on, was slipping, and I didn't know if I wanted it back. A week later, Carlo's POV work had turned into a minefield. Every glance across the office felt like walking through a hall of mirrors. And Darl's eyes were always there. Too intense. Too aware. I told myself it was paranoia. But the memory of our accidental kiss at the gala burned behind my ribs every time he passed. Every time I caught that flicker of something in his gaze. And then there was Evelyn, his girlfriend. All smiles and red lipstick, she made my chest tighten in ways I hated to admit. Watching them together, seeing how stiff he stayed around her, cut through me sharper than I expected. I told myself to focus on work and avoid thinking about Darl. Yeah, maybe that would work for me to mess with my head. Thursday night, the office was empty. I stayed late, finishing the campaign. Report that refused to wrap itself up. My fingers flew over the keyboard, muttering to myself as frustration built. The deadline was tomorrow morning, and if my department head saw this mess, she'd probably chew my head off. "Why is this spreadsheet conspiring against me?" I muttered, banging my fist lightly on the desk. A soft chuckle made me jump. I looked up, and there he was, Darl, walking by, hands in his pockets, watching me like I was some kind of entertaining lab experiment. "You're muttering again," he said, voice teasing. I froze, cheeks hot. I wasn't. I stammered, embarrassed, realizing just how loud I'd been venting my frustration. "Clearly," he said, smirking. "Though I have to admit, it's adorable." "Adorable?" I squeaked, shifting awkwardly. "I'm not adorable." "You are in the way you fight with Excel, like it personally offended you," he said, leaning against the edge of my desk. I blinked, trying to recover, but the truth was his presence, so casual, so impossibly magnetic, made my chest tighten. "I just need this done, that's all," I muttered. "Need some help?" he asked, tilting his head with that dangerous mix of charm and authority that made it impossible to say no. I hesitated, contemplating whether I should breach the rule I made to myself about avoiding him, but then I shrugged. "If you insist." What followed was pure, unplanned relief. Darl leaned over my shoulder, pointing out formulas, making little jokes about how the spreadsheet was clearly plotting against humanity, and I found myself laughing more than I had all week. He laughed too, that soft, infectious chuckle, and for a while, the tension of the gala night, the awkward kiss, even Evelyn, it all faded into the background. "Thanks," I said, smiling genuinely. I really appreciate it." He looked at me, his expression softening, and I felt my stomach flip. "Anytime. You know, it's nice to actually talk without turning everything into a battlefield." I swallowed, trying to mask the pull I still felt toward him. "Yeah? It's good, talking. Like this? Normal?" He raised an eyebrow, catching the unspoken truth. "Normal, huh?" "Sure, Carlo. Let's stick with that." I laughed lightly, trying to diffuse the electricity buzzing between us. "Honestly, I'm glad we're talking. Right now. Makes it easier." Easier? His eyes flickered, sharp, amused, yet challenging. You mean pretending the gala didn't happen? I flushed, trying to laugh it off. Something like that. Then his smile faltered just a little, tone sharper. You know the office is still talking, right, about us? I froze. Look, it was an accident. I didn't mean for... Accident? Really, Carlo? You didn't intend to notice me that closely? Or feel anything? My stomach twisted. What are you talking about? It wasn't like that. Just a stupid accident. His eyes narrowed. Oh, I know exactly what it was. And now you've been avoiding me all week, pretending I don't exist, like I'm some problem you can ignore. I felt my hands tighten around the glass I hadn't realized I'd picked up. Maybe I wanted to. Maybe I didn't want to deal with whatever this is between us. Deal with it? His voice rose, tension cutting through the calm he usually radiates. Carlo, this isn't just me, it's you. Avoiding me doesn't make it disappear. You want it too, don't you? What I want doesn't matter, I snapped, heat rising. You're the CEO. I'm just an employee. And you've someone in your life. I can't what? Feel something real? His tone was incredulous, and it made my chest ache. You think I'm blind to what's happening between us? Or are you pretending it's easier that way? The words hit harder than I expected. I opened my mouth and he leaned closer, face inches from mine. My knees ached. This isn't just desire, Carlo, he said quietly, almost a growl. It's danger, confusion, tension. Yet I can't stop thinking about you. I swallowed, shaking my head. Then maybe you shouldn't, I whispered, voice breaking. He scoffed softly, dangerously. Maybe I shouldn't. Or maybe you shouldn't fight me. Silence fell. Thick, heavy, electric. My rational mind screamed stop. But every part of me betrayed that warning. He leaned in. Slow. Intentional. Just enough to make my pulse hammer. But, Evelyn, I whispered. He froze, sharp exhale slipping through him. Frustration, desire, and confusion flickered across his face. Damn it, he muttered. I kept my gaze on my glass, hands trembling. Proximity alone made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. He started, voice tight. This is ridiculous. You're right, I said softly. It shouldn't happen. Not with her. Not with anyone. He leaned back, jaw set, eyes dark. The internal battle was visible. Desire to reach for me. Awareness he wouldn't, or at least tried not to. The room fell silent. Heavy, charged silence. Every nerve in my body hummed with his presence, every subtle movement, every shift of weight, every inflection in his voice. Then, why can't I stop thinking about you? He whispered finally, low and tight, almost to himself. I didn't answer. I only felt it. The pull between us undeniable, dangerous, and completely impossible. My pulse thudded painfully as I realized he was struggling with the same thing I was. For a moment, it was just us. Two people on the edge of something forbidden. Caught in tension neither wanted but couldn't resist. No kiss. No surrender. Just the knowledge that desire simmered hot and bright, and that we had no right to cross it. Not with Evelyn, not with anyone. Finally, he exhaled, shaking his head. Go home, Carlo. Get some rest. I nodded, voice quiet. Yes, Darl. As I left, every step felt heavier than usual. My body still hummed with his presence, and my mind tangled with what had almost happened. I wanted him, even knew I shouldn't. Standing on the edge of something dangerous. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I wanted to step back. 3 weeks later, Darl's POV 3 weeks. 3 weeks of pretending. Pretending I wasn't addicted to the way Carlo looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching. Pretending I didn't notice him linger near my office door. pretending I didn't adjust my schedule just to catch a glimpse of him at the end of the hall, pretending that Evelyn mattered, that she ever had. And yet somehow, in those stolen moments, the universe had this way of throwing us together in ways neither of us could avoid. It was a Friday afternoon, the kind of sticky, humid heat that made everyone sluggish except Carlo, who somehow seemed energized by the office chaos. I caught him by the coffee machine, hunched over his mug like a scientist examining a rare specimen. I leaned against the counter, observing, and he jumped a little when he noticed me. "You're spying," he accused, voice light but sharp. "Maybe," I said, shrugging, feigning innocence. "Or maybe I just enjoy watching people discover how much sugar they can pour into coffee without gagging." He shot me a half smile, that sly little smirk that made my chest tighten. "You're judging me." "Maybe I am," I admitted, grinning. "But it's hard not to, considering you're using 4 spoons of sugar like it's your civic duty." He chuckled, the sound like warm sunlight, reckless and bright, and my stomach twisted in ways I refused to name. "It's a coping mechanism," he said, shaking his head. "And you're supposed to be the CEO, Mr. Perfect Image. Don't tell me you've never poured too much sugar in something just to feel human." My lips twitched with a hint of a smile, a rare, unguarded smile, the one I didn't let out in board meetings or press conferences. "Guilty," I admitted, "but don't tell anyone. Our stockholders have enough reasons to distrust me already." We stood there, sharing the quiet, ridiculous intimacy of 2 people who had spent weeks circling each other like planets, both too stubborn to collide, but too magnetic to stay apart. Then Carlo tilted his head, eyes twinkling with mischief. "So, Mr. CEO, do you always come to the coffee machine just to make fun of employees?" I leaned closer, dropping my voice into a conspiratorial whisper. "Only the ones I'm obsessed with." His cheeks warmed, and he looked away, pretending to stir his coffee with exaggerated care. "You... obsessed?" "Yeah," I said simply, letting the word hang. "I think about you way too much. You're distracting." For a second, he didn't answer. Then, soft but firm, he said, "Darl, you know, I can't. You are in a relationship. You can't just..." I raised a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "I know," I said, my voice softer, urgent. "I know. But I also know I want this. I want you. And we'll figure it out. Together." He blinked at me, emotions flickering across his face. Doubt, hope, fear, something tender I couldn't name. And then, almost imperceptibly, he smiled. That tiny, reluctant smile that was full of vulnerability and trust. He started, then paused, shaking his head. I simply smiled back. The curve of my lips saying what words couldn't. The promise that I was serious, that I wasn't backing down, that this, whatever we were, we'd navigate it. And just like that, the tension shifted, replaced by something lighter. We laughed, small and easy, the kind of laugh that didn't need anyone else in the room to make sense. For a few moments, the PR stunts, the office gossip, Evelyn's fake charm, none of it existed. There was only us, and the simple joy of being near each other, teasing and honest, even when the truth was messy. And in that moment, my heart told me what I already knew. I was done pretending. I was done denying the pull, the obsession, the desire. Carlo was mine to want, and finally I let myself want him fully. This afternoon, buried in documents, she appeared. High heels clicking, perfume sharp, smile rehearsed. "Long day, Darl. Want some company?" I stiffened, forcing politeness as my eyes caught Carlo walking past the open door. The flicker in his eyes, hurt, betrayal, warning, froze me mid-breath. My chest tightened, clenching sharply. I let her stay just long enough to see him retreat like a ghost, then excused her. Later, in my quiet office, I typed, "Come over." No reply. Please. Silence. Days crawled by, every ping and shadow making me think he'd left, avoiding me, or that I was losing control, not over him, but over myself. I couldn't. I wouldn't. The opportunity came after hours. I caught him in the elevator, returning from the parking lot. I pressed the button to close the doors, and suddenly we were alone. "You think you can just ignore me?" I demanded, voice low. He looked up, jaw tight. "You have a girlfriend, Darl. Go kiss her instead." "Don't push me." My hands curled around the railing instinctively behind him. His pulse jumped visibly, throat working, eyes searching mine, measuring, wanting. And then I kissed him. Raw, angry, desperate. The world outside disappeared. My teeth grazed his lips, my hands pressed against his waist, pulling him closer. He struggled at first, stepping back, but the heat between us was too much. He gasped softly, and the sound drove me further. Then the doors opened. A junior employee stood there, wide-eyed. My blood ran cold. I jerked back. Carlo's eyes blazed. Fury, shock, betrayal. Next morning, HR called him in. Rumors exploded before he even walked out. I didn't stop them. I had to protect him. At the public meeting, I took the fall. I initiated it. He didn't, I said. Relief flickered across his posture, but my chest ached for the damage done. Afterward, he confronted me in my office. "You don't get to decide for me," he snapped, voice shaking with anger. "I was trying to protect you," I said, desperate. "I couldn't let anyone hurt you over this." "You don't have to," he said sharply, stepping back. "And what we have is unacceptable." Unacceptable? Carlo, do you know how long I've fought this? How long have I kept myself in check? Evelyn isn't real. She never was. I didn't love her. I want you. I've wanted you since the gala, since I first saw you. And I've tried to stop it, tried to stay professional thinking I was straight, but I can't. He stared at me, chest heaving, tears glistening. "And yet," he whispered, broken, "you still kissed me in the elevator. You still dragged me into this mess." I wanted to argue, to hold him, but he was right. He had a choice. He always had a choice. He turned toward the door. My hands itched to stop him. I didn't. He left, slamming it softly behind him, leaving me raw, frustrated, and aching with the truth I'd finally admitted. That I wanted him, needed him, and that nothing, not Evelyn, not appearances, could change that. The fallout had begun. And somehow, I knew this was only the start. 2 months later, Carlo's POV. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee and warm pastries, but it barely registered. I stared at my laptop screen, cursor blinking like a heartbeat I couldn't sync with. 2 months. That's how long it had been since the elevator, since the kiss, since everything had exploded in a way I still couldn't untangle in my head. The irony wasn't lost on me. Darl had taken the blame publicly, and yet the gossip didn't stop. Office gossip has a life of its own. I was the employee who seduced the CEO. The whispers about Darl and Evelyn's breakup had circulated before anyone confirmed anything. And the worst part? I'd quit. I had to. I couldn't stay there. Not after everything. Not after the way the air felt whenever Darl was near. Every glance charged with unspoken words I wasn't ready to hear. Not after the way my body betrayed me every time he smiled or leaned over a desk. I needed space to breathe, to figure out who I was, to accept that maybe I wasn't as straight as I'd convinced myself. The resignation had been messy. Darl had stormed into my office, jaw tight, voice low and dangerous, telling me I couldn't leave. "You're making a mistake," he had said, eyes flashing. I'd only looked back at him, heartbroken even as my resolve hardened. "I have to," I'd whispered. And then I left and blocked him. I stared at my phone now, scrolling through old messages from him, all unsent thoughts and confessions lingering on the screen. My thumb hovered over the reply button, but I couldn't. Couldn't let myself. Couldn't risk reopening the wound or letting him in. I missed him. God, I missed him. But I couldn't go back. Not yet. Hey, have you heard? My friend slid into the seat across from me, breaking my reverie. Darl stepped down as CEO after the scandal. I froze, mid-sip, the warmth of the coffee turning bitter in my mouth. My chest tightened. I'd known it was coming. The PR nightmare, the rumors. But hearing it out loud, finally it felt heavy. He did? I asked, voice tighter than intended. Yeah, all the board stuff. Said he wanted to start over or something. My friend shrugged, unaware of the storm I was holding inside. I nodded, forcing a smile, though my stomach churned. Start over. Maybe he meant for himself, maybe for us. But I couldn't trust that I was ready for it. The nights were the worst, quiet, empty, and heavy with thoughts of him. Sometimes I dreamed of that low voice saying my name, the heat of his hands, the pull I couldn't resist. I'd wake up aching, realizing it wasn't confusion anymore. It was longing, desire, love. I thought I'd buried it. Quitting the job, blocking his number, pretending I'd moved on. But every green-eyed stranger, every familiar smirk, brought him back. He'd lit something in me that refused to die out. Freelance work helped. Therapy helped. I was learning to accept who I was and what I wanted. That maybe I'd always wanted him. I sighed, staring at the empty chair across from me. My life was moving forward. But there was still that gap. The one only he could fill. I glanced at his old texts, the ones I never answered. Every word reminded me that what I'd felt wasn't a mistake. It was real. Maybe I never needed fixing, I whispered. Maybe I just needed to accept my truth. My feelings for Darl. For the first time in months, I felt a strange peace. The ache was still there, but it wasn't panic anymore. It was clarity. Dangerous, honest clarity. Because deep down, I knew distance wouldn't keep me from him forever. The cafe buzzed around me, life going on as usual. I sipped my coffee, eyes blurring over the spreadsheet. Still, my thoughts wandered back to him. Always him. And I knew one thing for sure. I wouldn't run this time. Not from him. Not from myself. 3 months later. Darl's POV: I wasn't in a suit today. Not that I ever needed one to command attention, but today it didn't matter. A gray hoodie, jeans, and scuffed sneakers. I wanted to look ordinary, human, vulnerable. Maybe that was exactly what I needed to be when I faced him again. The park was quiet. Late afternoon sun stretching through the branches. Shadows flickering over the path. I sat on the worn bench near the fountain, hands wrapped around a lukewarm coffee, nerves twisting in my stomach. I hadn't felt since that night in the elevator. 3 months. 3 months of regret, therapy, and endless self-reflection. 3 months of rehearsing what I'd say if I ever saw him again. And then he appeared. Carlo. Leaning against a tree. Laptop bag slung casually over one shoulder, coffee in hand, laughing at something his friend had said. My chest tightened immediately. The way he moved, effortless and unaware, made every memory of those stolen moments rush back. The gala, the elevator, every brush of his hand, every kiss that had left me breathless and frustrated. Our eyes met, and I felt it, that sharp, almost painful pull that had never left me. He froze. His friend noticed, but Carlo's gaze didn't waver. He hesitated, then, slowly, like he was measuring the risk, the weight of the past months, he started walking toward me. I stood before he reached the bench, and for a moment, nothing. Just the sound of the fountain and his shallow breaths mixing with mine. Finally, I broke the silence. I didn't think I'd see you here, I said, voice rougher than I expected. He swallowed, eyes flickering away, then back to mine. I didn't plan to see anyone, really. Not you. His lips twitched in the faintest smile, but the tension was clear. I gestured to the empty space on the bench beside me. Sit? He did. Careful, tentative, but not afraid. I lost everything, I started, gripping the coffee cup like a lifeline, because I couldn't be honest. Not with them, not with myself. He looked at me, expression unreadable. Then why me? Because I needed to say it out loud, to see him, to let him know that he had been the one I'd been chasing in thought and memory every damn day since that gala. I took a shaky breath, because that kiss wasn't an accident. Not for me. Carlo blinked, his jaw tightened, and he looked down at his coffee. Then up, meeting my gaze. For a moment, I thought he might laugh at me, mock me, but instead his expression softened, and the world shrank down to just the space between us. And then the rain started. At first, just a few droplets, but within seconds it was heavier, drumming against the leaves above. He jumped, startled, then grabbed my hand without thinking. "Come on," he said, voice low, almost urgent. "This way." Under the tree. I let him pull me along, heart hammering, chest tightening at the electricity in our touch. The moment his hand entwined with mine, everything changed. Casual contact now carrying weight, every brush of skin igniting sparks I'd spent months trying to ignore. We reached the shade, huddled beneath the broad canopy of leaves. He shivered slightly, pressed closer, hand still holding mine. My eyes softened as I studied him. The faint dampness of his hair, the flush on his cheeks, the way his lips pressed into a thin line, trying to hold back emotions that were written plainly in his eyes. "I broke up with Evelyn," I confessed, voice low, my thumb brushing over the back of his hand. She understood more than I thought she would. No anger, no drama, just clarity. And I resigned. Took time to sort myself out. Therapy, reflection, everything. He said nothing, but his body shifted closer. The warmth radiating off him was dangerous. My pulse raced at the simple proximity, every nerve on fire. Finally, he whispered, "You can't just say that and expect everything to be fine." I laughed softly, bitterly. "I don't, but I need you to know I'm done pretending." The tension broke in that moment, a fragile, taut line snapping. I tilted my head, and he leaned in instinctively, lips ghosting over mine. My breath caught. Then he paused. His green eyes searched mine, and I felt the vulnerability, the fear, the desire. I swallowed, heart hammering. "Darl, yes, my voice wavered. "I think I've been waiting for you, too, for this, for us." I didn't want to admit it, but I can't lie anymore. I don't want to. A shiver ran down his spine. Relief, disbelief, and hunger mingled in his expression. I could see it. That same longing, the same frustration I'd seen mirrored in his eyes during the gala, the elevator, every stolen glance. I stepped closer, breath mingling, chest pressing lightly against his. The heat of him, real and solid, was intoxicating. He swallowed hard, eyes fluttering shut for a brief moment. I whispered, "I want this. I want you." The rain fell harder, but we didn't move. The world had shrunk to the two of us. The park, the canopy, and the electric, undeniable tension. I tilted my head, letting him close the distance just slightly. Enough to brush lips lightly. Slow, exploratory. Not desperate. Not consuming. Just acknowledging. He pressed closer, cupping my jaw softly, thumbs brushing my cheeks. My fingers dug lightly into the hem of his hoodie. The kiss deepened, slow and careful. Each movement, a confession of months of longing, denial, and desire. I pulled back slightly, forehead resting against his. Rain is dripping over us. I was scared, I admitted, voice low. Scared I'd ruin everything. Scared of accepting my truth. His hand tightened around mine, thumb brushing over my knuckles. And now, I breathed, heart raw. I don't want to run anymore. I want this, us. No pretending, no hiding. His green eyes softened, lips curving into the faintest smile. Me too, he whispered. I've wanted you. Since that night. And maybe that's what love really is. The part of you that refuses to stay silent. That pushes you to admit it. Even if the world says you can't. I leaned in again, slow, deliberate. This time, the kiss wasn't hesitant. It wasn't about proving anything. It was about truth. About acknowledgement. About letting go of fear. And as I pressed closer, hands entwined, hearts pounding in sync, I realized this was what we had been waiting for all along. That storm of desire, denial, longing, and truth wasn't chaos. It was us. And we weren't running anymore. He was the one who made me question everything I thought I knew about myself, about love, about who I was. And now, finally, we were both willing to face it. The rain fell around us, but the world had narrowed to him, to us, to this moment. And in that wet, quiet park, I finally understood what love looked like. It looked like honesty, like confession, like two people refusing to hide from the fire they'd spent months denying. It looked like him. Epilogue 6 months later, Carlo's POV. 6 months had passed since that rainy confession under the tree. We had given ourselves time. Time to untangle the mess of emotions, to accept that what we felt wasn't fleeting, and to allow our feelings to grow without pressure. Every day since then, my love for Darl had only deepened, and I knew he felt the same. The subtle touches in passing, the lingering looks across rooms, the quiet reassurance. In late-night calls, it all built up, slowly, until we could no longer resist each other. Tonight we were celebrating my project's success. Months of work, sleepless nights, and Darl's unwavering support had finally paid off. He'd invested, advised, and quietly cheered me on, and I owed so much to him. My heart was already full when I checked my watch. He was late. Of course, the timing felt eerily familiar. My friend nudged me toward a blindfold game, laughing, teasing everyone about finding your soulmate. I rolled my eyes but agreed, curious to play along. When my eyes were covered, I was spun around, disoriented, and laughing nervously. My fingers fumbled as I tried to follow the directions, but I stumbled, and then collided with someone solid. Before I could pull away, a familiar hand pressed firmly against my waist. A strong, deliberate kiss followed. Slow, insistent, claiming. My breath caught as recognition hit me. It was Darl. My pulse surged, every nerve alive. His lips moved with certainty, his hands holding me close, pulling me impossibly nearer. The world faded around us, leaving only the heat of his body and the longing in his touch. Cheers erupted as someone clapped, breaking us from the moment. I removed the blindfold, laughing in disbelief. "You're late," I complained, still catching my breath. Darl's grin was devilish, knowing, and he tugged me by the hand, steering me away from the crowd. "Let's make our own celebration," he murmured. He guided me to a secluded corner, just us. The tension hung between us, playful but charged. I chuckled, frowning. "What is it now?" Then he dropped to one knee, eyes shining with anticipation, holding a small velvet box. My chest tightened, emotions threatening to spill. "Carlo," he began, voice low and steady, trembling slightly with earnestness. "We've been through so much. The rumors, the kisses, the silence, the distance. Every moment, every accident, every struggle brought us here. I can't imagine my life with anyone else. I want every day, every challenge, every laugh with you. You are my heart, my home, my everything." He opened the box. Inside, a ring glimmered softly in the dim light. "Will you be my life partner? Will you marry me?" Tears pricked my eyes, heart pounding. I laughed through the emotion, shaking slightly. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes, I love you, Darl. He rose slowly, pulling me into him, lips meeting mine in a kiss both tender and searing. His hands tangled in my hair, mine around his neck. Every heartbeat, every pulse, screamed that this was right, inevitable. I love you too, he whispered, smiling against my lips, and I couldn't help but grin through tears. The world spun around us, the party forgotten, the past forgiven, the future ours. And I thought back, smiling at the irony. A single accidental kiss had changed everything. It had made me see, made me feel, made me fall, made me gay for my straight boss. And now, forever, it was us. The end. Have you ever accidentally kissed someone and it completely flipped your world upside down like Carlo and Darl? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.